Happy birthday
Birthday
to us. Happy birthday to us. Happy birthday to Transplanar RPG. Happy birthday to us. Hey!
And many
That was awful.
more.
So our viewership just dropped down to 0 after that.
Yeah. I mean, I kind of expected that.
Hey everyone, thanks so much for tuning in to Arc 3, Episode 8 of Transplanar RPG. This will be the midpoint of this arc. My name is Connie, my pronouns are they, he, and she, and I am the GM and executive producer behind Transplanar, which is our transgender, people of color-led, 100% homebrew Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition live-streamed actual play campaign set in an original non-colonial anti-orientalist world. You can find me on Twitter and on Itch and on Patreon at by Connie Chong. You can see up here. And as a reminder, we do stream our D&D campaign Saturdays at 3 p.m. Central Time right here on Twitch. So thank you for tuning in. And now I will pass along introductions to Devin.
Hello, everyone. My name is Devin. I use they, them pronouns. I'm the artistic director of Shout, Minnesota's trans and gender diverse chorus. Just one. We're just one. Which is an all trans, person of color led. Hi, how's it going? Led choir based in the Twin Cities. Check us out on Facebook and Instagram at Shout Minnesota. I am also a solo streamer here on Twitch. Catch me on my first stream this Wednesday at 6 p.m. Central Time. So mark your calendars. It's going to be so scuffed. It's going to be so scuffed. I have like 2 things planned. One of them is futzing around on some random instruments I own, and the other one is playing video games. But not like starting from the beginning, just like playing games that I already have and have played for a while, probably Monster Hunter. So if you're in the Discord and you've seen me play Monster Hunter, come by for more of that or something, I guess. I have no schedule set up quite yet, so don't hold your breath for that because I'm putting out feelers for what schedule is going to feel right for me, and in order to do that, I just need to start streaming. So Wednesday, what did I say? 6 p.m., 5 p.m., 6 p.m. Central Time. Rika Honda is my channel. Give me a follow. We're gonna speedrun affiliate. No, I'm kidding. And pass introductions to Elika.
Hello, everybody. My name is Erica. I don't know why I speak like this now. I'm just getting in character. I am a streamer here, and I play V Nocturzo here at Transplanar. She's our lovable elf sorceress who will steal your heart, and then your gold, and then probably have a really good cry suddenly about it because she's starting to feel things. I'm a streamer here. I do a lot of horror, but I think I'm actually going to switch it up. But I'm basically streaming 2:30 p.m. Central most days except for Tuesdays and Wednesdays and Saturdays because I'm here. So if you want to have a good time, have some laughs, come check me out sometime. And now I will pass it on to Max.
Hello, I'm Max. I go with them pronouns. I play good dad Dewey Quirk. I'm having a sale on my
doubt in chat.
Press X to doubt.
Hey, fuck you. My Etsy shop is having a sale for the end of Pride Month. Come get Pride flag masks from me. I'm at Stitchmonger. I'll pass it to C.
Hey y'all, my name is C. I'm a dancer, digital artist, tabletop streamer, dungeon dramaturg. I use they, them pronouns. You can find me streaming right here on Twitch at pi_sharp. You can also find me on Twitter at pi_sharpart, where I post a lot of very gay, very trans digital art of fantasy characters doing gay things with each other. I play Okahye, your local god taxi, who is having a very good time. A very good time. Everything's fine.
Press X to doubt.
Press X to doubt again. And with that, I am going to bring it right over to some exciting announcements. We are in the middle of celebrating our 1-year anniversary of this stream. Oh my gosh, it's amazing. 1 year, seeing the same names in chat that we saw our very first inaugural episode is so amazing. Thank you all so much for supporting us on this amazing journey. 1 year later, here we are. We're about to cry. It's so good. We have a few more exciting events. If you missed our one-shot on Quest last night, stay tuned for the YouTube VOD. It will be up eventually when we get it. from Gen Con. But tune in tomorrow, Sunday, June 27th, as we launch our Patreon. With tiers as low as $3 a month, you can get exclusive updates, character sheets, high-res assets, voting power over what happens in our campaigns, and maybe something even more special at our highest tier. We are hosting a launch party at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time in our Discord server for newly pledged patrons and all Twitch subs. So make sure you pledge, sub, and stop by.
And
Then, of course,
the character sheets will not be this poorly kept up. I promise they'll be like nice.
they'll be crisp, beautiful.
Crisp.
And then on Monday, June 28th, we wrap up our anniversary weekend by debuting our podcast. We're releasing Arc 1, Episode 1 on Spotify, Apple Music, Podbean, wherever you get your podcasts. They will release every other Tuesday chronologically from Arc 1 onwards, so get ready for a nostalgia trip. Patrons will also get early access to all podcast episodes, so another reason to pledge. And if y'all would like to leave a review on all of those podcasting platforms, that would be so appreciated. We love y'all so much. We want to share this with as many people as possible. Also, oh my gosh, amazing
So
stuff.
much.
Connie, bring it up on the overlay. We have an exciting thing to show you right now. We have a brand new, beautiful, updated map 1 year later. Made by the amazing Saga, who is a fantasy cartographer, illustrator, designer, and TTRPG maker of things. You can join her Patreon at Saga Illustrates, find more of her work on Twitter, and get your very own map commissioned. Check it out. And you can also check out her imprint store and buy one of your very own Andake world maps to hang on your wall like it's hanging behind Connie's head right now. This is beautiful, amazing work. So please check out this fantastic trans creator, and you can use the ! map command in chat to check it out. It is literally so gorgeous, and you can put that on your wall if you want. It's amazing, I promise you. And now finally, I am finally done talking. I will be quiet now and pass things over to Erica for our dono thanks and sub/tip goals.
Yes. If you've been here for a while, like some of you have, you know that we love to thank people who support this channel. And these are the people who gifted subs or subbed or cheered or hosted or rated during Arc 3 Episode 7 last week. Erica Newgirl, Scruffusus, Crude Imposter Nightbright, Max Morkson, Fazman91, Colby253, Hannah May Create, Anonymous, LXKBW, Sheldon Sailor Scout Austin, and Sarcastic Kale Lover. Moving on to this episode, we have a 25 sub goal. 5 subs nets us a point of collective inspiration with a maximum of 3. 15 subs gets us an auto crit on the board, which anyone can use, including the GM, and 25 subs unlocks the ultimate prize. GM Connie has to monologue in character about the situation at hand. We currently have unredeemed monologues for all 4 of our PCs, Manaia, Oka, Dewey, and V. And considering where we're at, Max, could you please remind those playing at home exactly what is happening in this campaign right now?
I will do my best. As a reminder, you can always get to our recap document. It's updated every week by using !recap in the chat or going to bit.ly/transrecap. Here is summarized what happened last time. Oka fights their mirror self, and their family sees them as a monster and are horrified. They're stabbed through the chest with Dream Hunter, and when Hot Tiefling Kane shows up. Dewey scrambles to save his family and friends inside a giant cage. He manages to save his daughter between verses of a very strange musical number before the bomb goes off. Manaia makes the angel's choice. She moves the lever to the middle and crashes the coaster, unable to save her mother, but unwilling to sacrifice her friends. She walks into the carnival as her child self. V goes through speed dating, or should I say rejection, Sievert, Rev, V's mother, and finally her father. She steals herself and blasts his image apart with fire, becoming the only party member to escape the clutches of the carnival. I will pass it to Devin. Tell us about this week.
Of course. Moving on to the title of Arc 3, Episode 8. As always, the titles of our episodes are taken from poems or songs written by queer, trans, and/or people of color. Go check them out. The title of this episode is Failure Fragrant as Magic, which is from Corpse Flower by Vanessa Angelica Villarreal. Villarreal? Villarreal.
I'm not sure.
I'm butchering that name, and
Yeah,
I'm not.
it's
and
okay.
I'm
You can just go ahead and read
apologize.
it.
The full source reads as follows: I have buried each slow light, cardinal's yoke, live seawater, my trenza, a piece of my son's umbilical cord, and still you don't return. A failure fragrant as magic. Ascend the spirit into design.
Okay, thank you so much for reading that out, Devin. And now moving on to the session itself, some content warnings for our campaign may include disreality, ultraviolence, gore, body horror, time slippage, hallucinations, human sacrifice, natural disasters, alcohol and substance use, addiction, death of loved ones, memory loss, emotional trauma and baggage, self-destructive behavior, bloodletting, cult and cult-like behavior, and anxiety and panic attacks described in detail. So at any point during this campaign / this session, you can use !CW in chat to get a cohesive list of those content warnings. This episode might be particularly intense, so feel free to step away if you have to. We won't take offense to that. It's gonna be fine. If need be, you can always catch up with a written recap, or when our podcast catches up to it, with a podcast episode right to on Monday. How exciting for that. So with that out of the way, let's begin. Queuing up this music. Who's missed the Transplanar intro music? The dulcet tones of that guitar. Here we go. On the edge of the Euclid chasm, wrapped in the darkness of the starless sky, Dr. Hitsagatan Aluso stands outside their humble cottage and waits. Her chickens and ducks cluck in their pen, pecking at scattered scraps of food in the dirt. Under the shelter of a makeshift pavilion, a herd of kwee shudders in the darkness, grouped together like a flock of turquoise sheep. The kwee, who resemble single-legged, blue-scaled, hornless oxen, murmur nervously amongst themselves. Some of them jump nervously on their one-hoofed leg. Others rub their smooth skulls against each other in comfort. And pacing along the perimeter of this pavilion are Kahealani and Napua. Both of them are busy passing out rations to the kwee, handfuls of rocks, gems, and pebbles that the oxen-like creatures gobble up gratefully. Squeak, the grung merchant who is as wide as she is tall, waddles up to Dr. Aluso. Her large, bulbous eyes are fixed anxiously on the good doctor, standing at the edge of this chasm.
Are you sure it's going to happen? Some of the kwee are complaining. They want to go back to their cavern. They want to go to sleep. They want to go home.
Yes, I'm sure. I don't want the kwee to get trapped down there by what's coming. And I'm worried. The others haven't checked in for over a week. Wait. Squeak. I feel something. Get behind me. Squeak obeys and hobbles behind Dr. Aluso. There is a stretch of silence. And then, boom, the ground shakes. The poles holding up the pavilion tremble, and nervous braying erupts from the kwee. Boom! The ground shakes again, this time more violently. Dr. Aluso quickly retreats as the precipice they were standing on splinters, and then crumbles into the hungry darkness of the Euclid chasm gaping below. Boom! 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 Dr. Aluso swipes their arm in front of their body in a wide arc, creating a massive wall of light. They act not a moment too late as they shield themselves, Squeak, the kwee, Kahealani, Napua, and the chickens from a tremendous sonic boom that erupts somewhere from the depths of the chasm. This sonic boom smashes against Dr. Aluso's home, peeling off the roof and crumbling its walls of stone. And we follow this boom now as it streaks through the Badlands like a terrible hurricane, kicking up plumes of red dust, tearing branches off baobab trees, smashing the side of the God-Spine mountain range itself. This boom pummels Fireroot Farm, uprooting rows and rows of beautifully manicured turnips, shredding the roof off a handsome farmhouse, and sending a pink-skinned tiefling farmer flying through the air who's gripping a pitchfork and screaming for his husband. This boom sweeps past the forested boundary that separates Talmud from the Court of Ravens and pummels the darkened waters of the Black Tongue, causing turbulent waves to rock through the swamp, breaking and splintering trees in its wake, making birds take flight from their roosts. And finally, this sonic boom hits the frigid Sigirni Sea, where it causes a tsunami to sweep across the landless waters and various islands in the northern ocean of Andake. And now, we cut back to Dr. Aluso, who lowers their arms. This glowing wall of force shatters into nothingness. Kakealani, Napua, and Squeak immediately rush toward the terrified Kui, reassuring them, tending to their frayed nerves. But Dr. Aluso does something else. They approach the crumbled edge of this chasm, ignoring the decimated ruins of their home. She reaches into her pocket, pulls out a pair of binoculars, and raises them to her eyes. And she looks out across the chasm toward the sweeping plains of the Ogumor River Valley beyond. And then Dr. Aluso gasps. And on that gasp, we cut to the carnival. Oka, what have you been up to?
Is it time for my monologue?
It's time for your monologue. Go for it.
All right, then. Slay the wicked and give evil no quarter. Venerate the gods and protect their holy sites. Behave mindfully and act with temperance. I have a few other ideas now. Slay whoever the fuck gets in your way. Give bullshit no quarter. Venerate pleasure and protect that which helps you forget. Behave in whatever way you want because nothing matters in here. It's all good. And I am evil. And it's all good. It's good because now I can't even remember what I was so upset about earlier. Whenever it was. Feels like a lifetime ago. Like it happened to someone else entirely. I'm just here, having fun. And there's nobody around to tell me that no matter how hard I try, I'll always succumb to that base instinct, that base evil. Because when a holy protector of life and glory kills you, it sends a message. But I lived, bitch. I lived. And now it's time for me to have fun, to take a load off and stop worrying. The gods will sort themselves out. Cain is a good distraction. So much so that I don't even remember what I needed distracting from. We're distracting each other, I think. I can sometimes see them looking off into the mess of pinstriped tents, and for a moment, there's pain behind those pretty silver eyes. And they're so beautiful. I kiss it away. We go to different tents, playing games, stealing prizes. I get entered into a boxing tournament. And whenever my opponents bear down on me, I don't even feel it. The punches glance off my face, my arms, and I smile through the haze of sweat and blood. It feels so good to vent, to punch someone so hard you watch the light in their eyes flicker. Red lightning rolls off my skin, and I don't care why or how. And from the sidelines, Kane trips a few of them up for me, pulling the threads of the weave like they would play a harp, delicate, vicious. My opponents fall like the towers of Rosso, all 8 until I am crowned victorious. I kiss the whiskey off of Kane's mouth, my own victory. It's all good, and I am evil, and it's all good.
Oka, I think we find you stumbling out of a fighting ring. What's the expression you're wearing on your face as Kane, this midnight skin tiefling, has an arm slung around your shoulder?
Oka is like giggling with laughter. They're just like, so that was good. That was fun. Can we go again?
Did you see the look on that guy's face, darling? When he punched him on the side of his cheek and he spat out teeth.
I didn't even know someone could have that many teeth in their mouth. And they kind of like shake their knuckle and grab for the bottle of whiskey that the two of them have been passing between each other. And they take it like they throw their head back and take a long swig and kind of stumble. Do you want to ride the Ferris wheel?
Yes, I do want to ride the Ferris wheel.
Or we could climb it. We could just get to the top, right?
Oka, you know how to play me like a fiddle. To the top! And Kane like grabs your wrist and pulls you toward this massive Ferris wheel, right? That dominates, that looks over the entire carnival. And at its base is that pinstriped big top, where you can hear sounds, noises, smells are coming from it, but all of it is muffled. And the two of you run through this cobbled midway toward the glittering lights that strut their way across the various spokes of this Ferris wheel. And maybe on the two of you running, you pass Dewey. Dewey, what have you been up to in the carnival?
Is it monologue time for me?
It's monologue time, Dewey!
We see a child with wide-eyed innocence and fascination. She wears a pair of overall shorts, ice cream stains already on the front, and her hair is kept in 2 braids to avoid the same fate. She holds a baseball the size of her head and eyes down a stack of metal milk bottles set up within a booth. A taller, slightly older figure stands next to her, their hands planted on the counter in front of them, leaning in and yelling encouragement to the girl as the game operator protests and tries unsuccessfully to get them to back up. A pigeon Aarakocra is perched on a bench halfway across the midway, next to another figure chattering and making grand gestures, watching the two float from booth to booth. He holds an oversized stuffed hippo, the result of a lucky pick from the duck pond. An inflatable hammer won at the strength contest leans against the bench. The figure next to him's mouth is moving imperceptibly, perhaps recounting a story about something that happened to her last week, stopping only to accept pieces of funnel cake her partner feeds her. Neither is facing the other, but they don't need to look at their partner's face to know they'll laugh at the funny parts and wrap a wing around them at the difficult ones. The breaks in conversation are comfortable. It's not that they know how to exist around each other, but it simply feels like they don't need to work for it. The child takes off towards the Ferris wheel. It's not a kiddie ride, she insists. A new stuffed toy under her arm. Her companion/chaperone takes off after her and catches up easily, scooping her up in their arms and flying her like an airship into the waiting seat of the gondola. They watch her fasten her seatbelt and then slide in next to her and pull the door closed. The ride, worst of life, no operator needed.
I really like that. Dewey, you buckle Hana into the gondola, right? And you pull it closed. And the Ferris wheel cranks to life. I think just as Oka and Kane get to its base, right? Kane goes, "Oh no, dang it! We missed when we're supposed to get on, but that's okay, darling. Look, there's a ladder."
No ladder needed. And two huge wings sprout out of Oka's back, and they just they look race you to the top, and they just beat off the ground in one huge motion. Little bits of dust skirting out from where they take off from the ground.
And I think as Oka takes off, right, and like the Ferris wheel starts cranking to life with Dewey and Hana inside, looking out over the glittering lights of the midway, the fire breathers and jugglers throwing knives and batons. We pan through the crowd and we find a young face. Manaia, what have you been up to in the carnival?
Ahem. My name is Manaia Waidua. I am the only child of Kahealani, Nali, and Napua Waidua, an inheritor of Kahealani's axe which remains nameless. I'm the latest in a long line of Waiduas. We braid our children's hair in the unique Waidua way. I was gifted by my grandmother these magical golden rings that keep my hair together before I was even born. My parents loved me very much and raised me to be the best person I could possibly be, and I owe them the world for doing so. I have lived 18 long years, and it is no coincidence that just after my 18th birthday, I would have to speak this out. My birthday was spent rather topically convincing yet another group of people to try not to die, because we aren't going to the after anymore. It was a rough birthday, but none compared to the first birthday I had without my parents. But I'm reaching the midpoint of my life in a few years, and there are few better ways, few better times for me to get this out. I've persevered for so long, and I've buried so many emotions, and the consequences of my actions have finally come around to take me, and I offer no resistance. For as long as I can remember, I've been the strong one, the pure one, the protector, regardless of how much pain it caused me. I endured hardships that would kill a less motivated individual, and I thank the Eight for that I was strong enough to push through them. I've held together, snapped shrouds in the most powerful storms. I've thrown cannonballs hard enough to sink a galleon. I've tacked a ship 8 times by pulling the sides of the ship myself. I've shielded children from acid-spewing monsters, thrown giant shadow worms across arenas, smashed a giant turtle head, and redirected a ship out of the most infamous whirlpool on Andake. I've done these with little to no repercussions, and I thank the Eight for that, but it's nigh time I get what's coming to me, and that is why I speak this into the world. I'm tired. So unbearably, dreadfully, excruciatingly tired. I'm overdue for some sleep. I haven't slept well since the vanishing, and I've woken more and more tired ever since then. It's like the sleep isn't doing anything to keep me rested or regain my energy. These dreams have racked my body and soul for months, and I'm ready for it to just stop. Just make it stop. Just stop. I'm not Manaia Waidu, a paragon of Mahu, patron of the Princess of Leaves. I don't deserve to be. I'm not pure. I'm not a protector. I'm not strong. And it was a mistake for anyone, especially me, to think so. I never wanted this fate. I never deserved it. And I can't live up to what the world needs, what my friends need, and what I need for myself. I don't know why I was chosen, and if I continue down this road, it's only a matter of time before I inevitably fail. before I fall, before everyone looks at me in pity, disgust, and disappointment, as I simply cannot do what I need to do. I'm sorry, everyone. I'm not who you're looking for, and I'll never be. I just want to shrink away from everything. I want to be small, smaller, until I'm innocent again. Innocent and without responsibility. So, I draw my soul out of my body and stand, grasping at the 3 pairs of large, calloused hands that reach out to me. These hands that have supported me, that promise never to leave me again, and that will love me unconditionally. Hi there, I'm Manaia. No, I'm 5 years old, and my parents are taking me to the carnival today. I'm so excited.
Manaia, you swing between your parents' 3 hands. Kahealani holding your left hand, Napua holding your right, and Nali, when you swing in the air, pushing you from behind, like you're literally like a kid swing. And as you're like, woo, like going over these cobblestones, like hopping over like ice cream, puddles of ice cream and banana peels, right? And like broken sticks of candied apples on the ground. Napua leans in, gives you a wink, your father, and says, "All right, Manaia, we've been on a roller coaster. We've tested your strength at the hammer. We've gone on the teacup ride. What do you say to the Ferris wheel?"
Oh, Father, that sounds so fun, but can you come with? I'm a little scared of heights.
Of course, darling. Kahealani and Nali and myself will help you on the gondola. How about that?
Yes!
All right. Kahealani, you know what you gotta do.
And the last person in line is just getting... Oh, no, but just in time.
That's right, just in time. Get on Mama's back now. And Kahealani crouches down and offers her broad, strong shoulders to you.
Yeah, with her hands on the ground, I take a step on her hands, and I imagine she effortlessly lifts me into the air.
Yes, she does. She lifts you into the air and plops you down on her shoulders. And your mother, this former pirate captain, right, with all the authority of a sailor shouting orders over a turbulent ocean, says, "Do the Ferris wheel!" And like lets out like pew, pew, like noises as she like guides you through the crowd and to the base of this Ferris wheel. I think where there's like a pause at the end as like a family leaves the gondola, and now you pile in. You go up the stairs, you look up. Wow, this Ferris wheel, now that you're at the base, is so huge. It blots out the entirety of the starless night sky. It's just the Ferris wheel. You get into the gondola, and Nali closes the door with a whiff of magic. It shuts behind you, and you sit down on one side of the gondola, your parents sit down on the other. And the gondola begins to rise. On this gondola rising, I think you see a winged figure darting through the air. As Oka, you streak toward the top of the Ferris wheel. Hot on your heels is Kane, who instead of flying is leaping from spoke to spoke, right? Every time they leap, there's like a little sparkle of like dust or like fey magic that leaps up to help them like get like a longer stride and a bigger bound. Oka, you hear Kane go, "I'm gonna catch up to you." What, and you call yourself, what, someone with wings? How embarrassing it'll be for you for me to beat you and I'm not even flying.
Oka, I'm just going to be a little bit fast and loose with their blood abilities here because things are weird. They kind of just like track like this body connection between them and Kane, and they look. As soon as they put their foot down, Oka is just like rooting it there, like tendrils of like this rope of blood just come like and coil around their their leg as Oka still flying grabs onto one of the spokes and does like this like wheels in the air, lands on top of it, and then beats their wings up again, and just kind of like sticks out their tongue like nah.
Kane is rooted to one of the spokes. They go, hey, that's cheating. You're a big old cheater.
It's not. Why would it be cheating? I'm just winning.
Why you? And Kane like pulls at their leg as like we cut to one of the other like I think you're both on the spokes and you're like moving through the air, right? Because you're on the spokes. Dewey in the other gondola with Hana, your daughter's face, she's like pressed it, you know, like her like cheeks are like flat against like the glass as she's like looking down, she's like smearing like her face against the glass.
Wow. We're so high up, Dad. Are we gonna fall?
Of course not. Wouldn't let that happen.
You'd catch me, right? You'd catch me if we fell?
Yeah, what are these wings for?
You're right. You'll always be there for me, Dad, no matter what. Catch me when I fall.
But not right now. If you manage to find a way out of this gondola when we're up this high, I'll catch you, but you know I'm not the strongest.
That's true. Mom says it's because you've got hollow bones.
Yeah, well, she says a lot of things about me, I'm sure.
Oh, and I really liked meeting Rose back at the Midway. She's so cool. She's like my older sister. Can you adopt her, Dad? Can you adopt her? Can I have an older sister, please, please, please?
Sure. Anything for you.
Yay!
I would hate for you to be lonely.
Okay. I'd really like that. Oh, we should do something about... She always looks so sad, though. But I know that if she becomes my older sister, we're just gonna be one big happy family. You, me, Mom, and Rose.
You, me, Mom, Rose.
On that, I think we like pull away from like the glass where Hana's like smearing her face. We pull away from like another gondola where we see young Manaia laughing as like Nali plays tricks, like passing a coin between her fingers to entertain you. We move past Oka standing and laughing on top of one of the spokes outside while Kane tries to move their leg from the magic you've like tethered them to the pole with. Over the tops, right, of these striped tents, and now moving into the woods of Clothal jungle, past the various branches, the thorny bushes, the vines, the mud piles, the streams that run muddy with dirty water and blood, the various scraps of weapons, shattered shields, and steeds left abandoned as their riders heed the call of the siren song of the carnival. We move past all of these vestiges of the championship, and we land on a broken, a battered, a dirty and singed elf. V, tell us what you look like as you stagger through the woods.
I think actually V wakes up on the floor of the woods. When she was transported to this moment, she fell into a pile of crying and passed out for a little bit. She wakes up and she sees it's still sunlight, so she assumes she hasn't been out that long. She's rolls over onto her stomach and her hands and slowly gets onto her hands and knees, and she tries to stand up, but her legs have very little strength. She starts stumbling over and has to use a tree to catch herself. She's covered in bruises. It hurts to breathe. She feels her rib cage and like kind of like presses into it, and it hurts a lot, but it doesn't feel like it's broken, just bruised. But it does cause some pain to breathe. So she looks down for a larger rock, and she holds her hand out to cast freezing rays on it. And at first nothing comes out. And she's scared for a moment that she's run out of magic completely. But she realizes actually that it's not that the weave has left her. She's just so exhausted that even a simple cantrip is difficult for her to pull off. So she manages to just like squeeze deep down hard, and finally a frozen beam of magic trickles out of her diamond and onto this rock, freezing it over, and she picks it up and rests it over her clothes on her rib cage. The cold ice on the rock now, helping to soothe the bruising on her ribs. She listens for the carnival, and she can hear it, and she listens enough to kind of triangulate in her mind where she thinks the carnival is, and she thinks for a moment and speaks out loud, What am I doing? I almost got myself killed just now. And she turns and begins to walk in the opposite direction that she can hear the music coming from. And she's just like, what has come over me these last few months? I've become so attached to these people and what they're trying to do that I lost sight of the number one rule of my life, to always take care of V. These people, and she's continuing to walk through the forest. These people, what do I owe them? I came here simply trying to understand what was happening in Andake so that I might be able to get ahead of everyone else. And now I'm risking my life for these people and for the citizens of Andake that I don't even know. And she's walking, and finally she stops, and she remembers things about these three individuals she's spent the last few months with. She remembers the way Manaia followed her into Sievert's office the first time she faced Sievert. She remembers the time she accidentally slugged Dewey in the caves when the anger had possessed her, and how badly she felt afterwards. And she thinks of Oka, who asked her how to lie so many months ago and wanted practice on how to lie. And a little smile breaks over V's face a little bit. And then she thinks about that encounter she had with her father, where she sees her name in glowing lights, Vasanti, and the way her father knocked away all the letters, leaving just the V. And she realizes V would absolutely walk away from this right now. But Vasante, on the other hand, Vasante is going to do the right thing. And so she V quickly scrambles into her pack, and she has those research papers from, long ago that she stole from the office, and she grabs the back of one, and she finds like a nub of a writing utensil, and she writes out this letter, and she's writing about, her life and everything and her situation right now, and she closes it. So if you're reading this letter, I may be dead. And she pulls out from her thief tools, the little pick, and she manages to stab it into the bark of a tree. And she turns back towards the carnival music and begins walking in that direction.
Wow. That's what we call growth, babes. That's what we call growth. I'm going to need all of you to take a point of inspiration for all of your incredible performances.
Hey!
Because, wow. Give me some time to just do that real fast, because y'all are amazing actors. What? Okay. V, you stab this note into the trunk of the tree, and you walk. You walk back into the belly of the beast. You walk toward hell, right? Because a part of you knows that the people who you call your friends, the only people you've met in a really, really long time, perhaps ever, who accept you as who you are, who support you, who maybe even love you in a way that matters to you more than perhaps how Sievert claimed to love you, how even your mother claimed to love you. And as you stalk through these woods with a powerful stride, purpose igniting every step, make an Arcana check.
Oh dear. Oh dear. I don't think.
Don't
I
fail
do.
me now.
14?
Okay, a 14. You approach where you hear music playing in the distance. You can hear giggling, echoing laughter that seems to come from everywhere and nowhere at once, but you just left the carnival, so you know where to go. As you continue proceeding deeper into Clothal jungle, sort of like the tangled edges of the weave start pulling at you, right? And you start feeling this pressure. It's familiar, but also unfamiliar. And with your 14, I'll let you ask one question about what's going on, and I'll have to answer it honestly.
Oh gosh.
No pressure.
Where will one find the source of all of this?
I think you'll be able to just find it if you follow your heart, right? If you follow the threads of the weave toward where the pressure is unraveling. And the heart of all of this, it resonates with you. You know kind of intimately, this is Skad and Nectus. You can feel their presences now, like dovetailing together, and it's sort of like emanating, like you're on the edge of like a sun, right? But the source of the heat somewhere deeper within this jungle. You just have to keep walking forward. What do you do, V?
V lets out a deep breath, and she actually takes off the rock out of her ribs. She's feeling better now, and she drops to the side, and she sort of cracks her neck a little bit, and is like, it's showtime, and she heads into the fray.
V, you head into the fray, and soon enough, you find, under the darkened sky, the carnival. The true carnival. You see trees that have been twisted, the life and magic sucked out of their trunks and their bark and their soil and their roots to form these sort of like hobbled, intertwined versions of tents, right? Where Oka, Manaia, and Dewey see bright pinstripe tents, right? You see them for what they really are, gnarled trees knotted together, twisted, forced, right? To basically lean on each other to form these tents, right? Almost in like a twisted mirror of codependence, as you see like branches like being splintered and sutured against each other to form overhangs, almost reminding you of the court a little bit. Twisted nature, right? But instead of living in like a symbiotic relationship with the natural world, this is definitely some sort of magic or corruptive presence has forcibly twisted the world around it to bend to its will. You see people stumbling around dressed in rags, right? Some people are missing arms. You know, they're like heavily wounded, but they're still walking. Some sort of magic, right, is allowing them to continue to hobble around even though their physical limits have been reached and surpassed, right? Sort of like moving around, twitching, laughing, their eyes glazed over, dancing with each other. Oddly enough, you see a ring of people standing around like these twisted bows that form like a circle, like punching each other in the face as other people watch, and they like laugh, and they seem to be miming throwing coins, right? And like money at them, but there's nothing actually coming out of their hands, right? And you see like, you hear this gurgling in the distance, and you see like a blood-red river cutting through this entire like forest scene that some people are leaning up against, and they seem to be just miming, like talking at the river. And you realize what it is. This river is actually the Midway, right? And the games they're playing, they're just sort of staring at the river and throwing invisible balls, right, at invisible like coconut shells, trying to knock them down for invisible prizes, right? Turning to each other, laughing. Some of them drop to their knees and splash this blood red water on themselves, drenched now in this crimson liquid, laughing and laughing, right? All around you, you just see people stumbling, staggering, laughing, kissing each other, dancing, fighting each other, right? And there's two particular structures, actually, that do, I think, take your breath away a little. One of them is a Ferris wheel. An actual Ferris wheel. Except the spokes are made of bone. And the gondolas, right, it's just knotted branches and marrow stitched together, and people are just sitting on them, kicking their legs, laughing, at any moment might fall off, right, of each quote-unquote gondola. There's nothing there to keep them safe. You see various people just in this Ferris wheel. And another thing you see is a tent, the big top. And this is perhaps the truest form of the carnival, both illusory and real. You see a massive big top with these multicolored rainbow stripes coming down from it, and it seems to be glowing with this like weird, almost like fey or eldritch magic, right? And all of the sounds, all of the smells, right? All of the little hooks and lures that draw people into the carnival, you know intimately emanates from this big top. That is the heart of this carnival. But then your eyes glide back to this bone wheel, and you see Oka grabbing onto a femur, right, leaning against it, swaying from it, right, their wings shot out of their back, but like dripping with blood and a little broken, similar to how you saw their wings look in the Ujval mines. You see Cain hanging from another piece of marrow. You see Manaia by herself, sitting in like a swing and just sort of laughing and giggling, right? We also see Dewey by himself, sitting in another quote-unquote gondola swing. Beak moving seems to be talking with someone, but you don't see anyone next to him. V, this is the scene. People are bumbling and moving and staggering all around you. What do you do?
As soon as I see my friends, I definitely am heading over them and like one arm waving in the air like, Oka, Manaia, Dewey, it's me, it's V.
As you run toward this Ferris wheel, are you pushing past the other people that are staggering around this like decrepit, broken down forest?
Yeah, I think V's kind of wouldn't. Her friends are her priority right now, so she's just plowing her way through the crowd, getting to that Ferris wheel.
As you shout, I need you to make a charisma check, please.
Thank God, charisma's my highest. Oh my God. I'm going to use my inspiration,
Okay,
please.
sounds good.
Charisma check. Wow. That's still, well, it's a 13.
A 13?
Only
Do you want to keep
because
that?
Let me use a point of collective inspiration.
Sounds good.
Wow, these dice are going into jail. 13 is still the highest.
Okay, 13.
These dice are
Manaia,
gone.
Oka, and Dewey make a wisdom save. Nope, just regular wisdom save.
12.
12 from Manaia,
17.
17 from Oka. Dewey?
5.
Okay, Manaia and Dewey. Like, as we look at this bone wheel that V is running toward, the scene flashes and we see a beautiful Ferris wheel with like golden spokes, right? A steel gondola, like very safe rides, right? And we see Manaia, you're there. Nali's in the middle of like creating this little explosion of leaves for your entertainment. And then you hear kind of in the distance, V, what does Manaia hear?
I think maybe she hears something about danger, something about falling.
Okay.
I'm assuming this is like part of V's yelling of like, it's
Yes.
dangerous, you're going to fall.
Yeah, so V, why don't you give us a little taste of what Manaia hears through the haze?
It's like glimpses.
Yeah, through the haze, it's going to be something like, there's people in danger. People are going to fall. You have to protect them. You have to protect them.
That's what you hear, and it sort of seems to cut through the haze a little bit. How do you react, Manaia?
Manaia blinks a couple times. I'm assuming I made the save.
Yes, you did.
In terms of like trajectory. Okay.
You failed the save against V, which is good.
Right. She needs to know if I should traject this to one or the other. Okay. Manaia hears this, and her ears twitch. And I think maybe she reaches to pull her long braids back behind her ear, but instead of hitting the braids that she's known since she was 3, she hits 3 curly, wild hair, and maybe hits a bit of a stick that's stuck in it, and pulls her hand back and goes, Mom, what's going on?
Nolly says, "Oh, Manaia, don't worry about that. That doesn't matter at all. It's just someone trying to ruin our fun. Look, leaves. Poof, poof, poof."
Right. Mom, do you think Manaia's like very obviously has an ulterior motive because she's still a child and doesn't know how to do this kind of stuff yet? But she turns to her mom and goes, Mom, do you think you could do the jumping thing to put us like on top of the gondola just for a little bit? Just for a little bit. I swear, hold on. I promise. It'll be safe.
Well,
I know you.
all right. If you just want to have some fun, hold on to my hands.
Okay.
Poof. There's like a puff of like magic, and you teleport from your perspective onto the top of the gondola. You look out over this beautiful carnival, but the edges of this carnival seem to be blurring. You see some green coming in, and then it fades out, right? It's almost like there's an image trying to superimpose itself over what you're seeing, but what you're seeing is fighting back. What do you do, Manaia?
I need to think about it a little bit, so I'm okay with the scene change here.
Okay, sounds good. Top to the top, we go back to V, who you see Manaia just sort of get up and stand, right? And the gondola standing up seems to be like wavering a little bit, reacting to your voice. And you also see we cut now to Dewey. V's voice cuts through this haze as Hana's pressing her face against the glass. V, give us a taste of what Dewey hears.
Dewey, friend Dewey, we need you. I need your sharp intellect. Dewey, please come help me.
Dewey, you hear this kind of familiar voice cutting through, and as you look over at Hana, her form almost seems to fade a little bit, and then it fades back in. She turns her head and goes, Dad, what's wrong?
Nothing. I just... don't worry about it, and he reaches out for her hand.
As you reach out for Hana's hand, you take it, and instead of a like child's hand, it's like an adult woman's hand with a glove and a diamond in it, right? You look up and you see V's face suddenly like where Hana's like head's supposed to be, and I think maybe you're like shocked. You're like, what the hell? V, what does V Hana say?
V Hana says, oh gosh, so this should be like something kind of combining the two, right? Like, Dewey, you have to stay for your, and then you hear like, Dewey, you've got to help me get the others. They're stuck up on this Ferris wheel.
Dewey, how do you respond?
Dewey has fallen back and is like doing the scramble on his hands, I guess, on the ground, and he's trying to like back up as far away from this monstrous figure that is V and his child.
Yeah, very fucking weird. You fall down, right? And as you scramble backward, the safe cage of the gondola like fades right away, like an illusion dropping, and your back like hits something hard. You look around, similar to Manaia, you see the carnival spread out in front of you, but you also see an image trying to superimpose itself over what you think is your reality. And you see like the tendrils of vines and branches creep back in, like greenery like layer itself on top. You see like the bustling midway suddenly turn like there's like a sweep of red as it just turns into like a blood red stream cutting through the heart of this carnival. You look around, the walls fade away, and you're on some sort of like bone ride. There's not even like a safety net. You're just sort of like standing there on like a turret of bone. And Hana, V's face fades away from Hana as your child begins to disappear. And the last thing Hana says to you is, oh, Dad, I knew you'd leave me. She fades away as the carnival, the true form of the carnival, seeps into your reality. And you see a little figure running toward the base of this bone wheel. V, at this point, you've reached the bottom of the Ferris wheel. What do you do?
At this point, I'm kind of looking around for Oka, seeing if I can get them to join the land of actual reality.
Yeah, no, good luck with that. You hear, I think, Oka's laugh from way up, and you could like crane your neck up and see that while all this has been going on, I think Oka freed Kane. And now the two of them are up literally all the way up on the top on the like circular part. And as it's moving, they're walking on it. So they're at the top as it moves, but they're not just walking, they're dancing. They're like slow dance, like tangoing up at the top, like both of them, and they like kind of like get really close, and Oka they like bend back and like sway like over the edge, and in their mind it's like glittery and fun, and they're like laughing, and little bits of like whiskey are like spilling down, and they're like up there dancing. But it's just them like really just wavering at the top of the bone thing right now.
Yep. V, that's what you see of Oka. I love that. Oka, why don't you take another point of inspiration for that description? Very, very cool. You're walking and slow dancing and tangoing with Kane on top of this bone wheel, threatening to fall at any moment and plummet to your injury, if not your death, right? And now we see Manaia standing right on this gondola, and I think in your mind, Manaia, like the carnival's beginning to fade away, beginning to peel away, and you're starting to see this image superimpose itself. What do you do?
I think maybe the first thing she notices is that she's holding on to like a steel beam, right? That's holding the gondola to the Ferris wheel. And maybe the first thing she notices as the image of the ground is starting to fade is that she's not holding onto a steel beam, but a femur. And there's a flash, and she stumbles back and lets go in abject horror.
Yeah, you stumble back and you let go, and as you do, Nolly, who's next to you, begins to fade, right? She looks at you with a look of alarm, and she just goes, "No, Manaia, no. Stay with me. Please, don't leave me again."
There's something wrong. This isn't... Manaia's like hyperventilating at this point.
And I think as Nolly like fully fades away, she like passes like a hand trying to cup the side of your cheek, but the hand just like goes through you, and she just goes, "We could have been a family again, Manaia. And now you've killed me twice." And Nolly just falls away as the true carnival drops into like you're no longer being hoodwinked here. You see the reality of what's going on, and you're like, whoa, you're wavering there, and you hear a laugh, right? You look up and you see Oka, and so do you, Dewey, and V, dancing at the very top of this Ferris wheel. And I think now we're going to cut very quickly to Oka, your perspective, as you're dancing with Kane, you're tangoing, right? You can hear the music, and there's glitters and sparkles everywhere, and the Ferris wheel's moving, and you'll occasionally hop over a gondola and dance on it, and hop back down, right, onto like the circular strut. Where'd you learn how to dance like that?
And then Oka pauses as they try to remember, which is exactly what they are not trying to do, and they like misstep. but I think like Kane kind of like catches them. I don't know. I must have learned it here.
Yes, you did. Oh, darling. Kane pulls you in, like hand on the small of your back. I almost lost you there for a minute. Don't leave.
No, I'm not. I'm not going anywhere. This is fun.
Yes, this is really fun. And then Kane pulls you in for a dip. And on the dip, they kiss you. And we pull back and we see like V. You're at the base of this Ferris wheel. You see this like kiss going on between both Kane and Oka, both of whom look really battered and bruised and like fucked up. V, spotlight's on you. What do? Dewey and Manaia are sort of jolted out, right, of their trance, and they are taking like a moment to gather themselves, but Oka is not. What's the move here?
I can did I just hear that conversation from way down below?
Oh, why not? Fuck it. Yeah, you did.
Yeah. All right. V has an idea for a moment and decides to reaches real deep down. Again, magic is real hard to come by right now, even though the weave has emboldened her a little bit, and she's trying to use her minor illusion cantrip to manifest a portrait of Makoya right next to Oka's face.
Oka, you see a portrait, something just flash into existence next to you, right? And you see yourself looking back at you, long-haired, something, this dredges something up inside of you. What is it?
Horror, I think. So much so that Oka like startles. They startle and they shift backward, forgetting that they're at the top of the Ferris wheel, and they grab onto Kane as they are falling backward, and they just tip over the side, even though both of their wings are out, and they just start falling. With like Kane holding on to them, I think.
Oka and Kane make a swan dive off the top of the Ferris wheel, headed straight toward you, V. What do?
V is going to quickly run into position and try to break their fall with her own body.
I killed Manaia like this once. Don't do it again. For fuck's sake,
Maybe
all
you
of
should stop falling, Oka. Maybe you should stop
just let me hit
falling.
the ground. I'm fine.
V, make an athletics check. Let's see how you do. Hope it was...
That's 20, baby!
Oh my god. Oh my god, this is exactly what we needed. V, tell me how you save the day.
Oh my god. So I think actually V is gonna turn this more into like an acrobatic situation of jumping from spoke to spoke of the bone about halfway up and leaps into the air and kind of catches, like wraps arms around both of these folks and is trying to land, like maybe there's a tent of gnarled trees on the other side of the gap, and she manages to use it and like can't land on it, but uses it to like run down and just like crash in the ground and bob and roll in like a good parkour fall.
As you bob and roll, right, this fully breaks you, Oka, out of your trance, right? You hit the ground, and it's not a tent you land on, but V? And like gnarled branches and canes in there somewhere. You're looking around. All these memories are rushing back at the same time as they're rushing back to you, Manaia, and you, Dewey. Oka, how do you react?
I think Oka goes like, they roll and they roll and they roll. And they kind of like just like land there, and they immediately like put a hand to their chest, and I think the wound starts bleeding for the first time. I think there was maybe some like magic going on. I don't know. I think I'm at like 5 HP right now. And Oka, they like take their hand away and they look at the blood and then they look at V. What? What are you doing?
Oka, you can see me. almost died. And then I like point up to the top of the Ferris wheel so like they can see the Ferris wheel, what it actually hopefully looks like. You were up there and you fell.
I only fell because you did something. I was fine. I was having a fine time. V, what is this? What is this?
This is the carnival. Whatever you were seeing was not real, friend. This is what is real right now.
And Oka is silent.
Okay, as you fall silent, Kane, who's also in this mess, they groan and they grab the sides of their temples and they blink and their unfocused eyes start to like flutter back into focus. They look around, they go, what is this? Where am I? What's going on? Oka.
What? So this is the carnival. Thank you so much, V. Thank you. That was great.
You did this? Kane turns to you, V, as they slowly like get up, right, from the ground. They're like backing away just a little, right? But you see like their silvery eyes are like shining with rage, it seems. And like you just came in and you ruined everyone's fun. Kane goes, I didn't want to be woken up. You did this to me, you. Kane like slowly backs away and you see like they're like headed toward the big top, right? They're silhouetted against it as they like back away. They retreat toward this glowing like tent, right? In the near distance. And maybe on this, Manaia and Dewey, the two of you are up there on the Ferris wheel. You see all of this happening. You're coming back into your bodies. What do the two of you do?
Max, you go first. I have the perfect cut to break. It's too
Great.
perfect.
Dewey is suddenly jolted back to reality, and he moves to like scoot his left hand back again, but there's nothing behind him, so he just goes backwards off the platform.
Do you fly?
Dewey.
Do you remember you can fly?
No,
Okay.
I didn't expect to fly.
Okay. Dewey, you plummet off the platform. Do you like scream and like shout on your way down?
Probably instinctually, yeah.
Okay, yeah. You let out a scream as you plummet through the air. Oka and V, the two of you see, interrupting Kane's sentence, this feathered body of your friend Dewey falling through the air toward you. What do the two of you do?
I guess V is gonna
You don't have to.
try to
fine.
catch another friend.
I'll be fine.
Oka lets him fall.
V's gonna run up and try to catch a Dewey.
All right, make another athletics check for me, V.
Watch this be the one.
Oh God.
What'd you get?
2.
Max, you spoke it into existence. What have you done? You spoke it into existence.
You
What
did
have you
speak it.
done?
Wow.
And you said that was an athletics check.
Yeah.
So 0. I got an unnatural 0.
Okay.
Thanks,
I
Dewey.
love it.
Okay. So I think what that means is V, describe to me how this happens.
I think it's a shorter fall, and so V is like sprinting and just like can't even do anything but like leap out, like completely just put it all out there, leaping to get underneath Dewey.
Dewey slams into you, but let's say the tent that cushioned your fall, the tent of branches, is already smashed from when Oka fell. So Dewey slams into you like full force. What are both of you at HP wise?
I'm at 18.
Okay.
I'm at 41.
Okay. I need both of you to take 12 points of bludgeoning damage as Dewey slams against V and the ground. As that happens, Kane just lets out a, no, I don't want this. I don't want this to be real.
Wait. I'll come with you. And Oka gets up and takes one look at the bone carnival mess. And they shake their head. And they grab Kane's hand and start pulling them toward the big top.
Oka, you and Kane turn and you flee toward this golden, glowing, big, thrumming with pressure and magic big top. And before I describe what's in there, right, or like what it's like, we're gonna cut now back to Manaia, who's still standing on the Ferris wheel. Manaia, what do you do?
Manaia is hyperventilating, but every breath in is so much deeper than every breath out that eventually her huge, trained sailor's lungs are full of air. And she falls to her knees and clasps her hands like over her ears on her head. I can't reenact this because I don't know how to do this safely. But maybe we pan away really quickly. Well, no, we zoom in on Manaia's face, just streaming with tears and sweat and a little bit of blood, spattered with leaves and branches in her hair, as she lets out an impossibly loud, horrifically primal scream that almost shakes the
wheel?
Ferris wheel, almost shakes the wheel with its power and resonates across the carnival, disrupting some birds in the distance as this 7 years trained sailor, voice trained to carry over the loudest storms of Andake, just lets loose.
Manaia, you let out this primal scream, right? And this just resonates throughout the entire carnival. Were you trying to accomplish something with this, or is this like a moment of like cathartic release?
Its release, cathartic, is questionable.
Okay, sounds good. Manaia, you stand there and you shout, and maybe that jolts V and Dewey, the two of you are still in like a crumpled heap at like the bottom of the wheel, and like your ears ring with Manaia's howl as Oka and Kane disappear into the big top, right? The tent flap, like billowing in the wind, right? To admit entrance. V and Dewey, what do the two of you do?
V looks up to Manaia, looks at the now flapping tent entrance that Oka and Kane have disappeared into, and I think she just sort of lets out a sigh and just being like, I've got so much more work to do. And kind of like, she just sort of puts her head down a little bit. She's exhausted.
Okay, Dewey, what about you?
Dewey's eyes are drawn towards Manaia. And then as soon as he realizes, oh, everyone's back. Oh no, Paragon business. He plants his face in the dirt and covers his head and his ears with his wing. And he's crying into the dirt.
Wow, taking a dust bath like a true pigeon. Okay, crying into the dirt, and I think maybe like, cause I kind of want to end with like y'all like maybe heading into the big top, because this feels sort of scattered to me. So maybe like on Dewey burrowing his head into the dirt, we cut back to Manaia, who's like finally done shouting, right? Like you've screamed yourself hoarse. Every ounce of like your energy is wasted, is gone. What do you do?
I think maybe Manaya's scream breaks towards the end of her like capacity for air, and she just sobs. And she starts sort of rocking back and forth, and maybe losing her footing a little bit on the bones, I guess, that she's on. She can't handle what's happening. This is literally so much more than anything else that's ever happened to her. There is literally death all around her. So I think as she kneels and she sort of walks on her knees a little bit, she stumbles and slips and silently falls.
V and Dewey, are either of you going to... Do you have the capacity to try to break her fall, or are you just gonna like let her rip?
Rip! Like let her splat against the ground.
I think the best V can do, like the screaming has stopped, which causes V to look up and sees the stumble and the fall, and reaches up and casts Mage
Oh
Hand
my god.
to like
Oh my god.
just
Coming in clutch.
do that little bit of like 10 pounds of lifting to try to help Manaia out. But yeah, V physically has like nothing left to like try to break this fall.
Okay, Manaia, what are you at?
94.
Yeah, you're good. You are going to... V's help is going to reduce the damage taken by 1, I think. So you are
Yeah.
going to take 14 points of bludgeoning damage as you fall to the ground. And on Manaia's body, like thudding, right, a little bit of an illusory hand breaking your fall just a little bit, right? This plume of dust comes up as leaves are kicked up, dead leaves, right, from this crumpled burrow of tented branches. And on that, on Dewey and Manaia and V, just sort of there in like a heap at the base of this massive bone wheel, Oka and Kane having disappeared into the big top. I think we can cut to a break. Okay, we will be back in 10, so it's 4:22 over here right now. We will be back by 4:32. We've got some
Just
new
about 2
art.
minutes.
I know, right? We have new art in the fan art reel, so stick around for that. Take a quick bio break, tech break. We love you all so much. Thank you for being here. We'll be back in 10 minutes, and peace.
I learned this from a witch who was born of many gender. I learned to see a light. I learned to watch it glitter. I learned a secret from the light. I learned to watch it dancing. I learned to swallow light to illuminate my darkness. I learned to feel love when I look upon my dark things. I learned this from a witch who was born of many gender. I learned to see a light. I learned to watch it glitter. I learned a secret from the light. I learned to watch it dancing. I learned to swallow light to illuminate my darkness. I learned to feel love when I look upon my dark things. I learned this from a witch who was born of many gender. I learned to see a light. I learned to watch it glitter. I learned a secret from the light. I learned to watch it dance. I learned to swallow
tear, blood, hair, 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 tear, blood, tear, blood. Tear, blood, hair, tear, blood, hair, tear, blood, hair, tear, blood. Tear, blood, tear, blood, tear, blood, tear, blood.
Sitting and see, fucked up in a
my body one more time. My last breath can be yours to keep. Yours to keep. Yours to keep. Oh, bitch, give me a skeleton key. Now there's pins in your eyes, blood on my teeth. Oh, bitch, give me a skeleton key. Now there's pins in your eyes, blood on my teeth. Slowly, softly, can't see me, but you'll feel me in your flaming coffin. At his feet, oh, bitch, gave me a skeleton key of living bone to expose illusion of my own. Softly, can't see me, but you'll feel me in your flaming coffin.
Happy birthday. Just
Oh
kidding.
my god.
Well, that was caught on camera, so
course
on
it was.
stream. So, hi everyone, welcome back to Arc 3, Episode 8, our midpoint of Arc 3. The part 2 of this midpoint. Before we hop back in, a reminder of content warnings for this episode, for our campaign, and for this arc in particular include disreality, ultraviolence, gore, body horror, time slippage, hallucinations, human sacrifice, natural disasters, alcohol and substance use, addiction, death of loved ones, memory loss, emotional trauma and baggage, self-destructive behavior, bloodletting, cults and cult-like behavior, and anxiety and panic attacks described in detail. Just as always, this particular episode is going to be a little bit more intense than usual, so take care of yourself the way you have to take care of yourself. You can pull up a reminder of these content warnings at any time using !CW in chat. So with that out of the way, let's hop right back into the action with the GM monologue. We open on a tea shop in Rosso. A server brings out a silvery tray with a nice green tea specimen on it. Moves past the rather crowded shop and sets down this tray at a table near a window. And Dr. Aluso looks up at the server and says, "Thank you. That'll be all." And the server nods and retreats as Dr. Aluso picks up this teapot and pours out a cup for Squeak, the round, circular, rotund Orbitus Grung, who sits across the small tea table from Dr. Aluso. Squeak takes this teacup and says,
Thank you, Hitagatan. Is she gonna show? I don't know if she's gonna show. She seems very busy.
"Well, this is V we're talking about, and the others, so I'm pretty sure she'll care."
All right. But we did say we'd only wait here for an hour, so if she doesn't get here, we have to go in there and save them ourselves.
Understood. Ah. And a bell rings as the shop door opens, right? And I think like a gust of wind rolls in with like several like black feathers, right? That like roll into this shop, and silhouetted against the threshold with like a cape made of feathers, right? She like ducks to get under because that's how big she is. Rev steps into the tea shop and she like brushes like her like black and white hair out of her face. And like the patrons in the shop all like stare at her because there's something about Rev. Maybe it's the fact that she's ginormous and muscular. Maybe it's the fact that she's wearing a literal cape of feathers. Maybe it's the fact that her tattoos are golden and they seem to glow under the candled light of this tea shop. But there's something about Rev that radiates power. And this paragon, this fully realized paragon of the Raven Queen, steps forward and takes an oversized seat next to Dr. Aluso and Squeak. Ah, you must be Rev. Dr. Aluso stands and offers a hand. Rev just eyes it and then shakes it. Her dry and cold skin, right? Her hand gripping Dr. Aluso very tightly. Yeah, that's me. You said V was in trouble? Yes, she is. So is Manaia and Oka and Dewey. They haven't checked in for almost a month now at this point. It did take us about 2 weeks to get here, so I'm getting a little worried.
Yes, we fear the Carnival might have taken them all, swallowed them into his dark heart.
Who is this? Oh, this is Squeak, my associate. There's a lot that we need to catch you up on. Please, have a seat. And Rev accepts a cup of green tea from Dr. Aluso. And I think like whoosh, on the steam rising from this cup, we like cut the scene away, right? And when the steam dies down, we transition to a dilapidated heap of 3 people. Dewey, Manaia, and V. The 3 of you broken, battered, and bruised at the base of this sinister bone wheel. What do the 3 of you do?
V finally begins to find the strength to stand back up and looks at her 2 friends here, looks at the tent and goes back to her friends and tries to help first Dewey and then Manaia up off the ground and be like, friends, are you here with me right now? Do you see what's all around us?
Dewey swats V's hands away and is like, give him back. Go, give him back.
V stands back a little bit and like, Dewey, none of it was real. None of they were. Whoever you saw, they were never there. You were simply seeing an illusion, no more real than half the illusions you've seen me perform on people.
I know. And Dewey sits up and wipes some mud off of the entire front of his body, I guess. What happened to Manaia?
V turns to Manaia to check on her and to help her if she can.
Manaia doesn't move for what seems like a very long while before she stirs. And she gets up of her own accord. Her cape of leaves are brown and shriveled and wilted. I don't think she has her axe. And she stares above V's head, just empty and lifeless. But standing.
Manaia, Are you okay?
She says nothing.
V like looks back to the tent and is trying to like bring a sense of urgency. She's trying to like push down that exhaustion and be like, friends, Oka is in there with Kane. This is the source of the carnival. I can feel it in the weave. This is it. This is what we've come for. We've got to go in after Oka.
Shouldn't we be in better shape to? Shouldn't we be at our best to go in? Look at us.
We've got to do something. Our friend is in there. We can't just leave to recuperate and come back. I've pushed myself very hard to come rescue you all. We can't just stop right now. We've got to get Oka. We can't leave them.
I'm assuming V, you gesture towards the big top where we need to go and maybe take a step in that direction. Manaia also takes a step forward. Trying to imply that she's not going to say anything, but she will follow you.
V sees that and feels like a small smile on her face, and she turns to Dewey. Are you with us, Dewey? Can we count on you?
Yeah, let's go get him.
And with that, V turns around and takes a deep breath and for once is leading the charge into the big top.
V, you stand up, flanked on either side by Manaia and Dewey. Two of you brace yourselves, right? And you walk toward the big top. As you get closer to this massive circus tent with its pin-striped canvas, right? And like a little like entrance foyer area that some like pavilions have. The three of you sense it. The pressure. The presence of godhood. As you get closer and closer, the weave seems to pull tight, tight, tight against your skins, right? Like you're fish or sharks caught in a fisherman's net, right? This weave's just pulling tight, tight, tight against you, grating against your soul, threatening to slice it into pieces if you're not strong enough. But the three of you are. This kind of energy, right, is roiling. There's something about the edges of the weave here that feel frayed. As you get closer, it's almost like you're moving through molasses, right? It's like your legs are made of lead. They're really hard to pick up. There's something inside this tent that seems to feel your presence and is trying to keep you out. How do the three of you stride forward regardless?
Manaia doesn't put any more effort into walking than she did outside the tent, and therefore probably slows down just because of the pressure.
Dewey?
Go for it, Dewey.
Oh, Dewey's also slowing down, but keeping an eye on Manaia to make sure she doesn't get left behind, and keeping V in front of him.
V, I've been lying. I've had one spell slot left that I've been holding for this moment.
Wow, okay.
It's a level 1 spell slot. I'm gonna cast Disguise Self, but all it is I remain V, but like Carnival V, big like black pinstriped like a the ringmaster type jacket and like a cool little black top hat, like tall top hat, and little green glasses, sunglasses tinted, and just is like ready for the carnival. Looking very fresh compared to how she looked very haggard beforehand.
Okay. And with that, the three of you push on, right? Manaia slowing down a little bit. The three of you standing abreast, you know you have to rescue Oka. You have to figure out what's going on with Scott and Nexus and stop this farce once and for all. The three of you walk toward this like little entrance flap, right? And V, you stride through. There is a dazzling light, right? I think all three of you have to reflexively like shield your eyes or like blink, right? As this like light just beams down on you on all sides, almost like Galtanger's rays, like shedding down upon you. And when your eyes adjust, right, and you're able to blink them open like warily, you see Scott and Nectus's big top. All around you, surrounding this entire ginormous big top, are bleachers filled with people. But none of these people have faces. They're all just standing there, cheering soundlessly, making muffled noises with their mouthless faces. Throwing popcorn in the air, mashing, right, food against their, like, skin, right, where they're supposed to be a mob, but there just isn't.
Can they be wearing masks instead, actually? This is a thing.
Oh, yeah, sure, okay, totally. Yeah, let's retcon that and say, on the bleachers, seated all around you is an audience of masked onlookers. And these masks are sort of like theater masks, right? Venetian, almost. Some of them look to be painted to depict, like, pure euphoria. Others look like the masks of tragedy and despair. Very similar to Quail Heart, right? There's other masks that sort of look like, you know, like unsure, confused, surprised, shocked, lustful, guarded, perceptive. All sorts of emotions are on display here, all around the entire circumference of this big top. And there's noise of people cheering and applauding and laughing and jeering and booing as you look down and you see 3 rings in the middle of this big top. A small ring to the left, small ring to the right, and a massive ring in the center. And weaving on the dirt floor between these rings are clowns and jesters and performers riding on unicycles, like juggling like knives, right? And like what look to be explosives and torches with green light just like glimmering on the ends. Dewey, what is the performance taking place on the left stage?
Can it be someone like riding a horse, but the thing where they stand on the horse?
Yes. Inspiration to anyone who knows what that's called.
Vaulting.
Okay, inspiration to Oka, I guess.
I feel like that was a freebie. No offense, but I feel like that was a freebie.
The left ring has a vaulting performance going on. There's a beautiful person standing on the back of a horse, and they're like, you know, their arms are out in like a V shape. The horse is like going around the perimeter of the ring, and they're like doing tricks on top of the horse. They'll jump up and then they'll like hop, like grab onto the saddle, right, and kick their legs up into the air. And they somehow produce like a bow and arrow, right? And they use their foot to notch the arrow inside the bow and pull it back, right? And they fire it while they're on horseback at like a ring, and the arrow goes through the top of an apple, where you see a person is standing there, a halfling in a mask, right, with the apple on top of their head, and the arrow goes right through the apple, and people applaud and go. The crowd goes wild, and they throw roses, you know, and like kettle corn, and all sorts of gifts at the feet of this horse and this horseback rider. Manaia, what is the performance happening in the rightmost ring?
It is a balancing act. And it's not a super high balancing act, but it is extremely dangerous. There's fire and bubbling acid and, spikes and all sorts of just horrific, untimely deaths that would befall these performers if they didn't have the utmost confidence and the utmost jovialness just dancing across these really thin beams.
Yeah, what's it called? Like a high wire? Is that the name? Like when you like walk, like a really tall slack line, but strung between 2 poles. And at the bottom, there's no net, but there is, like, as you mentioned, like a fire pit, just like flames looking up. And there's also like a giant vat of acid, right? And like a pit of stakes, right? And like there's performers and they're doing acts on top of this high wire, right? They're juggling. One of them's juggling. One of them is even going up and across like the slack line on a unicycle. Another one, they're like pretending to like fence each other, right? And like the wire is like bouncing and bouncing. And some of them seem like they might lose their balance, but they never quite. But the risk, the threat of it is always there. And as this horseback rider notches another arrow with her feet, the halfling puts another smaller apple on their head. The risk of this halfling being shot through the head is always there. Oh, but the reward, the payoff, the laughter and the clapping and the encore of the audience almost makes it worth it. And the three of you, your gazes are now trained on the final ring in the middle, the biggest ring. There is a raised dais in the center of this ring, and for now the ring appears empty. There's nothing happening in it. But the three of you see slumped against the dais Oka and Kane. The two of you are at the base of the dais, almost like you've been knocked out and then placed there like rag dolls, right? Leaned there. Oka, you're not completely unconscious. What are you doing as you're sort of slumped there, the carnival having sunk its tendrils back into your soul?
Oka is kind of just like looking around blearily, and they keep like thumbing the front of their chest, and like they're trying to watch the trapeze act over them, and they just kind of like slump down further. And then they kind of like, with their other hand, like grab at Kane's hand like loosely, and they look, and then they are just kind of like dazed and continuing to just like kind of slump there. Not much.
Yes, the pressure, the presence of the gods nearby, though you don't see them immediately, is so dense and intense inside this tent, right? It's like the four of you are inside a ball of lightning, right? Or like you're inside like the bottom of like a vast ocean, like with this just kilometers and kilometers of water just pressing down, trying to compress your bodies into just beads of like flesh and bone. Right? As if like the presence of the divine is trying to show you you're nothing, you're just a mortal. Look at me, I am eternal. Right? Manaia, V, and Dewey, I think the three of you are just sweating. You're straight up sweating from being in here. Like it's, like it takes everything you have to just stand on your feet, like and not kneel in the presence of this godhood. What do the three of you do?
Manaia offers no resistance. If she has the slightest inclination to kneel or get down on the ground, she will do so.
Okay, there's a thud as Manaia, I think maybe you drop to one knee, right? And like maybe you're panting really hard. And like your eyes are like kind of wide and like sweat's rolling down like the side of your temple as like the pressure is so immense it's choking your soul from the inside. Dewey, what do you do?
I'm going to try and make my way to Oka and Kane, but always keep them between me and the ring. The empty ring.
Okay, makes sense. You do not want to turn your back on that thing. I think you stride past like the tall bleachers, right, on either side of you, almost like the three of you are prize fighters, right, on like boxing night, right, coming like out of your like training rooms. And as you walk, everyone on the bleachers, as soon as you move, like a ripple effect, they turn, and these masks, their painted gazes fall upon you. And as you walk, the ones that notice you, the audience members that notice you, fall silent, right? They stop clapping, they stare, and they turn as you walk forward, even though Manaia is still...
stop.
Okay. Dewey, you stop walking as you notice that these audience members are turning and watching you and falling silent. V, what do you do?
V is going to see Oka and Kane. She turns and watches Manaia fall to her knees. She watches Dewey move forward and how that seems to have sucked in the attention of the entire audience. And she's just sweating so profoundly and feeling this unbearable weight from the weave. And she just like takes this tuxedo. Well, it's not even real tux. It's an illusion, right? So underneath the tuxedo jacket is her normal sleeve that she uses to wipe her brow. And it's showtime. And she pushes as hard as she can against this weight towards that empty circle and tries to put on a little dancing show for the crowd and starts like trying to lead the crowd in a chant of Scott and Nectus, actually. Scott and Nectus, Scott and Nectus.
V, as soon as you start this chant, as you're walking, pushing past the pressure toward this empty ring, the lights systematically shut off, right? From the rafters, where you also see performers like dancing and looping around on like the beams above, but everything's plunged into darkness as your voice maybe like fades away off into the shadow, right? And then in the complete pitch blackness of this tent, we hear the crowd chant in unison, Scott and Nectus, Scott and Nectus, Scott and Nectus. And as that happens, there's almost like a drum beat underneath all this. Do, 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 do. And ka-ching, a single spotlight illuminates the central ring. We see Oka, Kane, slumped, faces cast in shadow against this raised dais. V, you hear a drum roll. Snares going from all around. V, before the grand reveal, give you a moment to react here. What do you do?
Oh gosh, I think V is going to try to get as close as possible. The closer, though, the more of this weight presses upon her. So she's like tries to dance, but it's again feels like she's moving through sludge until it gets harder and harder, and she ends up kind of falling to one knee, but like standing up and like staring at this space, waiting for the next thing to come, but still, and like she's become, if you can't tell, she's very defiant right now. She is going to confront the gods.
The drum roll comes to a crescendo, and the dais.
Crescendo, Connie.
Excuse me. Fuck you, Devin. But I'll redo that
Italian.
For the podcast. The drum roll comes to a peak, and then stops as a hole opens up at the top of this dais, and a platform raises up, right? Like a musician or a performer, like coming up from like under the stage, right? And a platform comes up, and then all four of you see them standing on top of this platform. The ringmaster, a single person in a velvet swallowtail jacket. Its purple hues deep like blood. They twirl a baton made of periwinkle light. A cascade of lavender sparkles explodes, and when this glittering cloud settles down, you see their face. Or rather, their faces. Two visages superimposed over each other, the edges blending together like an optical illusion, or a holographic card trapped in an eternal moment of transition. One of these faces is that of a half-elf. Tanned skin spackled with freckles, brown eyes, sharp, vicious. The other face is that of a tiefling, with a single broken horn jutting from their forehead. Her eyes are golden, her skin purple. Wildly different hair sprouts from either side of this ringmaster's scalp. The half-elf has long, vividly red hair like fire, shaved on the side that's braided vertically down their back. The tiefling has black hair obsidian, also shaved on the side but tied up into a bun. Dewey, Manaia, you recognize these two faces instantly. They are the gods of risk and reward. Skad and Nectus, the lovers who must never be worshipped apart. But they are apart, as in Skad and Nectus are never depicted as a single being like Yudabathi, right? Their love Their bond is what binds them together, but they're still separate and distinct. They're individuals, right? And this melding, this blending of two individual parts into a single dilapidated whole feels wrong. Skad and Nectis must be worshipped together, yes, but always on their own terms. Skad is risk, Nectis is reward. The offerings are doubled, not mashed together. Even the weave, or what remains of it here, right, flickers and spasms around this ringmaster. Frayed edges of magic lash out at you like whips. Vinash's presence felt enraged, mighty, consuming. The Raven Queen's presence felt immense, calm, grieving. Skad and Nectis's presence feels deranged. Like two magnets of opposing poles smashing into each other over and over again, forced together through terror and desperation. The ringmaster twirls their baton, and when they slam it onto the ground, it's elongated into a cane. The top of it, a fist clenched around a bagpipe. And Skad and Nectis say, their voices layered over each other, "Welcome, welcome, one and all, to the magnificent, to the one and only, to the amazing, mystical, marvelous, magical Carnival!" And in the darkness, applause erupts. V, what do you do?
V starts to laugh at them, but not in a I'm enjoying this kind of way, in more of a you. So you're gods. This is what the gods of Andake look like.
The laughter dies down as like Skad and Nectis are like sort of feeding the crowd, and when you speak, they twirl the cane. And they rest both hands on top of it, they lean against it, and they cock their head to the side, their 4 eyes fixed on you. Well, of course not, silly. We're just an echo of what we used to be. Just like you.
V thinks about this for a moment. And she says aloud to them, I didn't believe you existed for so very long, most of my life, and now that I see you here, I'm kind of amused, friends. Not at your humor, not at this circus you put before us, but I laugh because I am so utterly mystified at how horrible you treat your subjects. You put us through nightmares and think that we should just bow and have a good time and laugh at your efforts? How dare you? This is unbelievably gross what you have done to these people.
Why, you insolent little. Now, honey. And on the growl, one face seemed to be shifting into like greater prominence, right? It's the half-elf, right? With like a snarl on their lip, a sharp tooth. And then the other half takes over, the purple tiefling. You see their eyes, their golden eyes, fixed upon you. And it's Nectis who addresses you, V. Hold on. I think we know you. She snaps, and time and space collapse. And V, you find yourself standing in the middle of the ring, almost like you were like magnetized toward them, right? And now you're at the base of this ring, of this dais. In front of you, Oka and Kane slumped. Above you, towering above you, right? Their bodies silhouetted in this blinding spotlight from the heavens. Skad and Nectis look down on you, head cocked to the side when a broken horn. illuminated in the darkness. You're our paragon.
I believe this to be so.
Oh, but you don't look like him. Wrong paragon, my love. This one's a broken one, just like us. Is she now? Let's see. And it's Nectis who raises the staff and then makes a circle in the sky above her head. And the ground underneath your feet, almost like a lazy Susan, starts spinning. And like it raises, right, and like lights ding 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 appear on like the edge of the spinning plate, and like circus music starts playing in the back, right? So you're sort of like braced, and like you in the middle you're like rotating, right? Like you're a planet revolving around a sun. You're rotating around Scott and Nectis, who turn their heads like to follow you as you move. You look nothing like our other one. Look at you. Sad, scrawny, I can see right past that illusion. You're nothing compared to Ying. Now, lover, we have to give her a chance, don't we? Tell us, what's your name? And a spotlight, ding, clicks on you. And the spotlight like revolves to follow you as you're spinning around Scott and Nectis.
V takes a deep breath and says, "My name is Vasante Nakshurzo."
Vasante Nakshurzo. Now that's an old name for someone who's never even seen a dragon in her life. A name she doesn't deserve, I'm sure.
I come from a white dragon. My mother's name was Paya, and I've been told all my life that I was fated, destined to be something very special, and I've come here, I guess, to accept whatever that responsibility is.
A white dragon, is that so? Ugh. Oh, that's too bad. She's one of yours. Darling, I thought we left that in the past. And it's Scott's face that takes over now, right? Freckles sort of like glimmering on their cheek like stars. Well, let's see if you have what it takes. You deign to insult us here in the seat of our power. You deign to say what we try to do here is evil. Ha! Let's see if you're even worth being our paragon. Honey, come now. Perhaps she does have a point. Perhaps we are being a little unfair. And what, pray tell, Vasante Nakshurzo, are you mad at us about? Are we not keeping our people safe? Are we not keeping them happy? The cataclysm tore us from each other. And you see the ringmaster hug themselves, right? And like one hand is purple and the other one is just like tanned, right? With freckles going all the way down. But now we found each other again and we can't let go. So what's so bad about staying here with us, safe in our little bubble? Why would you try to take that from us?
If you stay here doing the things that you're doing, all of Andake is going to fall. You were never there for me in the last 110 years of my life. And yet, despite that, I am here before you, trying my best to help my friends here today and doing what I can to save Andake. And that is more important than whether you are safe or not here. And if my responsibility is to let you inside of me to hold on to till we have fixed what's going on in Andake, if it will help my friends and protect them, that's what I'm going to do.
Bold words from small fry. Now, darling. She has a chance to prove herself, just like Ying did. Fine. You. The spinning platform suddenly stops. Maybe you're like a little dizzy here, like this entire time we were talking. And Scott and Nectus walk down the dais. Tap, 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 their feet coming down the steps. And they stride toward you. They lower this cane in your direction, and time and space collapse yet again until you're dragged right from your solar plexus, right in front of Scott and Nectus, in front of this ringmaster. And you stop with your breast pressed against the hard top of this cane. Now, darling, this won't hurt a bit. Just stay still.
V is going to stare directly into all four eyes. And she's going to grab the cane, take a deep breath. Do your worst.
There is a massive suction, right? Like a massive sucking sensation, right? From the tip of this cane pointed directly over your heart. And all of you in this big top now see a flash of light, a flash of purple light streaked with red, and all the other colors of the rainbow explode out from this point of contact. As Scott and Nectus, the ringmaster, pull the cane back, and V, holy fuck, your heart comes out. Your heart, your beating heart, is pulled out of your chest. Gugoosh, gugoosh, gugoosh. And it floats, right? On top of this cane as Scott and Nectus like coax it out of your chest cavity. And as soon as it like comes out of your skin, it's like there's a hollow in your chest and your eyes are like wide and you're staring at your actual physical heart beating in the air above your head. And as you do, you hear Scott and Nectus say in unison, their voices layered over each other, "And now for the test." And V, the world drops away from you. And you're suddenly in like this black space, this nebulous area. The closest comparison is when you died and Rev was here, right? And pulled you back when you were back in the court. But Rev isn't here. It's just yourself. You're standing in the middle of a black, nebulous nothingness, a vast void spreading out in every direction that you can see. And then the world starts to populate from the outside in. You see mountains and forests and trees and a lake, and you realize where you are. You are standing in the middle of a battlefield. You see cavalry charging forward. You like look and you see like an armored paladin astride an equally armored horse with a massive lance as they run this lance through the face stealer. You see a massive creature with claws and faces stitched onto its body, rearing up, screaming as this lance pierces it through. You see other soldiers at the base of the face stealer swinging like bayonets and not bayonets, sorry, swinging scimitars and swords and daggers at this face stealer. You look around, you see like another monster, that huge, squirming a puddle of flesh and ooze and pus with like chains wrapped around its body, oozing pus onto the ground. Spellcasters fling fire and ice, right? And like vines shoot up and try to spear this thing and fight it. And in the distance, you, V, see the stranger. Eyes and wings sprawling out from horizon to horizon as far as you can see. This is the fight for Andake's soul. And you hear a voice from behind you go, "Out of the way, now, now!" What do you do?
V is going to quickly get up and spin around to see who that was, and she just gets in a very defensive stance. And she's like looking at wherever that voice came from, and also back to the stranger and back and forth real fast.
And you see Ying, Scud and Nectus's original paragon. A tiefling man with golden skin. And you see just the slightest hint of scales, right? Dusting his cheek. He's got this like long black hair that's braided back, almost like Viking style, like back, that like flows down, right, down his shirt. And he's wearing this like light leather armor, and he's got like a book strapped to the left side of his hip. But he's running right toward you, and you brace maybe, but he goes right through you. And you realize you're the illusion here. So he walks past you, pulls out that book. You realize it's not a book after all. It seems to be a container of some sort. He opens it, and you see inside, hollowed out, you see a deck of cards. And Ying pulls out a card and basically throws it onto the ground. And rippling out, right, from where the card like hit onto the ground, you see like a massive wave of like ice spikes shoot up. They spear through like the face dealer. They spear through Puss Boy, I think is what we called him, right? And it goes toward like another one of these monsters spawned by the stranger's presence. And you see like other people cheer like nearby, like as Ying steps in to save the day. And Ying turns to one of the paladins and says, "Get your men and women and your other fighters. Get them back to the tent. This ambush, it's too much for us to take. We have to regroup. We have to rally." "What about you, Corporal?" "I'll be fine. I have Scott and Nectus on my side, and this deck. The other paragons should be here soon. I'll hold them back." And Ying takes out another card and tosses it into the air, and whooshing, like angelic wings sprout from their back, and they take off into the air. V, how is this making you feel?
I think V is starting to cry, like, not like overcome, like blubbering crying, but just like tears are running down her face as she's seeing this Ying. It appears he's about to like sacrifice himself to fight the stranger alone until these other paragons show up, and V just has this feeling. It's a feeling of destiny. It's like the feeling of truth, like with a capital T, just filling her up, and she's like overcome with it as she's watching this.
Okay. And then this vision fades away, and you're standing there in front of Scott and Nectus, and your heart is glowing above you. And Scott and Nectus look up at it. They slowly lower your heart back into your chest. And that hollow seals up again. Oh dear. Oh my. Oh no. And Scott and Nectus slowly back away from you, like someone pressed rewind, right? Like a perfect backing up, right? Like back up the dais.
And I think from the base of the dais, Oka speaks in this double layered voice, Vinash's voice rattling out of their chest. You two have always been so dramatic.
Vinash? It's you. Wait. Where's the rest of you?
I was not as lucky as you two. This thing holding me grows weak. Choose yours wisely.
No. You were taken from the rest of yourself? No, that can't happen to us. No, we won't let that happen to us. No, Without Scod, without Nectus, we're nothing. You. And the ringmaster turns back, like on top of their dais, to you, V. Your heart. We weighed it against Ying's heart. And I'm so sorry, Vasanti. I'm so sorry to say you're not worthy. You don't deserve us. You may be our paragon, but we're not your gods, honey.
V just cries. I think that's probably the meanest thing anyone's ever said to her.
Connie, why are you laughing, you little sadist? Stop laughing!
Wow. Okay. And on that, I think what happens next is this. But there is someone here who might be able to hold us. Yes, honey, yes. It's time. It's time. Are you ready? I'm ready. You and me, Nectus. You and me, darling, till the end of the line. And Scott and Nectus turn to look down at the base of the dais in Oka's direction. There is a flash of light as they leap down, and Oka, I think Vinash is has left the premises, so it's just you. It's just you as you see this ringmaster dive down toward you, Oka. How do you respond?
Grit my fucking teeth, baby!
You grit your teeth and you feel these two gods pass into your body and out the back. As Scod and Nectus enter Cain. Cain, slumped there, gasps awake, right? Their mouth opening as this beam of just divine godlike light shoots into their body, and Cain's chest flies forward, their arms spread in either direction in supplication, and they're trembling and shaking as this beam of light shoots in through their chest, letting out a scream of pain and divine fury. Oka, V, Manaia, Dewey, how do the four of you respond? I think maybe stunned silence is appropriate.
I think V is just alone, not even watching that, just being we've been rejected once again now by the gods, and just is crying.
Yep. There's a as Scott and Nectus vanish inside Cain, and Cain has struggled to their feet, and they're sort of staggering there, right? And the spotlights click back on, so the rest of the big top is illuminated, but there's something wrong. The lights are flickering, right? And the audience, the masked audience in this venue are murmuring amongst each other as Cain staggers. Gah. Oka. And they reach out like a hand to grab at you, Oka, as the ground begins to shake and the beams supporting the tent begin to crack. What do you do, Oka?
Oh my fuck. Yeah, Oka is still on the ground, and I think when it happened, they it passed through them, and then they opened their eyes and it wasn't them. And they turned, and this look of horror and shock has come over their face, and they're holding their hands against their mouth, and they super tentatively reach their hand out. Cain.
What's happening to me? What is this? I don't feel great. And when they touch your hand, there is just an absolute massive explosion, like the sonic boom at the beginning of the session. Bam! Like sweeps out, originating from Kane. And all 4 of you are knocked off your feet. You fly through the air, a blinding light sears right through your vision as the big top explodes. And on that, I think we can end the session.
You say it with
Da, 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 da.
joy. Da, 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 da. I was so sweaty.
Oh god, yeah, me too. No AC in this room for us. Thank you, Manaia and Dewey, for being amazing audience members during that entire sequence. Thank you. Your face journeys fed me. Thank you to everyone, our actual audience members, for watching Arc 3, Episode 8, the midpoint of Arc 3. Of our, this is great. Thank you for being here. I'm Connie. I've been your GM and executive producer. My pronouns are they, he, and she. You can find me on Twitter, itch, Patreon, at by Connie Chong up here. Look at the overlay. Woo, shiny, shiny. Just support me on Patreon, or better yet, support Transplanar RPG on Patreon when we launch our Patreon page tomorrow. But more about that later. Passing along introductions to Devin.
Hello, everyone. My name's Devin. I use they, them pronouns. I am the artistic director of Shout, Minnesota's trans and gender diverse voices, an all trans choir based in the Twin Cities. Check us out on Facebook and Instagram at Shout Minnesota. I am also having my inaugural stream on Wednesday at 6 p.m. Central Time. So do the conversions for your different time zones. Don't miss it unless you have to. It's going to be chaotic and so scuffed. But stop by. My account is Rika Honda. You've probably seen me in chat. And with that, Erica, how you doing?
That's a good question. I'm Erica, she, her pronouns, and I played Vinoc Scherzo, the severely re-traumatized elf sorcerer. And you can find me here on Twitch or any other social media platform at Erica Newgirl. I stream most of the days at 2:30 p.m. Central. So tomorrow I'll be streaming for a little bit before we have some activities in the evening for the stuff. We'll talk about that, I'm sure, later. And we like to have a fun time. Hopefully not as re-traumatizing as this session was. And with that, I pass it to Max.
Hey, I'm Max. I go by they, them pronouns. I play just a normal dude, Dewey, in the presence of gods. Many of them. You can find me making pride flag masks. I'm having a sale in my Etsy shop until the end of June, which is Wednesday. So come check me out at Stitchmonger. I will pass it to Not a Taxi Today.
Not a taxi today. That's my name. Hi, y'all. My name is Cia. Use they, them pronouns. I am a dancer, digital artist, tabletop streamer, and a dungeon dramaturg. You can find me streaming on Twitch at pi_sharp. You can also find me on Twitter, Instagram, Tumblr, etc. at pi_sharp_art, where I post lots of gay, lots of trans art. And I guess I can go into the spiel since I do it in the beginning. So thank you so much for supporting our 1-year anniversary stream. Tomorrow is technically our official anniversary, and we will be celebrating by going back to Nostalgia Lane. And by that, I mean launching our Patreon. So please join our Patreon if you've liked our content for the last year. A super exciting way for y'all to support us with tiers as low as $3 a month. You can get exclusive updates, character sheets, high-res art assets, voting power over what happens to the campaign, and something extra special at the $25 tier. We are also hosting a launch party. Hang out with us, Q&A, fun time, games at 7 p.m. CDT in our Discord server for patrons and Twitch subs. So if you didn't get on that amazing sub giving train earlier, make sure to stop by or consider pledging to our Patreon. And then on Monday, we are wrapping up our anniversary weekend by actually taking our nostalgia trip with our official release of Arc 1, Episode 1 as a podcast. And you can find that on Spotify, Apple Music, Podbeans, wherever you get your podcasts. Those will release every other Tuesday chronologically from Arc 1 onward. So take a trip back and see all of the amazing things we did. And it looks like we're going to start raiding Dicey Amazon. So Connie, unless there's, use the ! Map command in chat to get your very own Andake map. in the world. It's amazing. From our dear friend Saga. With that, I'll pass it back to Connie.
Fantastic. Thank you all so much for tuning in this session. Can't wait to see what happens next week. Tune in for the rest of our anniversary weekend tomorrow and Monday, Patreon and podcast launch. Thank you so much. We're going to be racing Dicey Amazons now. They are an all women of color, queer-led stream team. They are playing tabletop games right now to continue the tabletop fun. Sub to them, follow them if you haven't already. They're fantastic. And with that, we'll see you all tomorrow. To our newly pledged patrons and Twitch subscribers, join us for our Patreon launch party tomorrow at 7 p.m. U.S. Central Time in our Discord. We love you all so much. Use the raid message and peace.